Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Financial Fix with Sharnella. Today, I am with one of my mentors, and she's a really wonderful lady. She's been in the real estate industry for over 30 years, correct? And she has an amazing story. Every time I hear her story, I'm just blown away, and I thought I would want to share it with all of you because if you're thinking about getting into real estate, you can definitely learn a lot from the ups and downs that Wendy has been in over the past 30 years. So Wendy, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been in real estate and what prompted your interest in real estate?
So in the investing world, you mean,
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes.
Well, it's been almost 40 years, I hate to admit.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
Well, so I went to the University of Colorado. I was born and raised in Colorado.
Okay.
And when I graduated, I got a job in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And right before I left, my mother went to a real estate investing seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And she bought this real estate investing course, came home and showed my dad, and of course he said, we're not investing. I mean, are you kidding me? That's too risky, that's crazy, we're not gonna do that. So right before I left, she said, Wendy, do you want this real estate course?
Mm-hmm. And
she said, I think you're the person who'll do something with this. And we have 6 kids, and I guess I was in the right place at the right time. And she goes, here, because I was like always a little entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
And so she gave me the course, and all the way to Michigan, I started listening to Sharnella, and I just absolutely, I thought, this is what I was meant to do.
Nice.
I'm really interested in this. This is more up my alley, instead of what I got my degree in. But anyway, so that's how I kind of got started in it.
Okay.
And then I joined a real estate investor group like I have here now.
Wow.
But I joined one in 1985 and went to it and bought my first home in 1986, early 86. And that's how I got started. And I house hacked, but we didn't call it that.
Right.
I bought a 3-bedroom home in St. Clair Shores, and my PITI with a 10% interest rate at that time was only $468 a month.
Wow.
And I had 2 extra bedrooms, so I rented 2 bedrooms to 2 women that came from my company, and we all were moved here at the same time. And they paid $250 a month each, so it was $500 a month. I was living free. It paid my house payment and my credit card payment, which I used for my down payment.
Exactly.
Because I didn't have any money. I came broke. I had student loans, and I wasn't making that much.
So for those out there who don't know what PITI is, that's your principal, your interest, and your taxes all rolled into one payment.
Yeah.
It makes things very easy. And so you essentially just rented rooms in your house, and your renters paid your rent.
Yeah.
Your mortgage, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're young and single, especially, or even old and single, why not rent out those rooms and bring some cash flow in? And it worked out great for us. We were all career women, and it just was perfect, and we're friends to this day, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. But,
so that's how I got started.
Okay. But you've had an amazing journey because right now, you're doing very well. And like myself, you're a private money lender.
Yes.
Obviously, you have a lot more money to lend than I do. But
Well, you're doing great. Don't ever downplay that.
Yeah, but just tell us, dig a little bit deeper into real estate. Like after you bought your first home.
So after I bought the first one, so I didn't have any money, like I mentioned. So I had a credit card. That's actually how I got my first house.
Okay.
Back then, they didn't require you to season your down payment. You call that, you have to have they don't want you borrowing your down payment when you're getting a mortgage, right? Because they want to know that your mortgage is going to be secure. Well, at the time they didn't care. So I borrowed on my credit card.
Okay. Wow.
And that's how my tenants paid my rent, or the credit card payment plus my mortgage payment. And that's how that worked out.
Okay.
And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is kind of cool, I could do this again. So I bought another property in Warren, and I bought it on a credit card down payment and bought it on a land contract.
Wow.
And then I thought, that's easy. So I did another one, same way. I didn't have any money. So I just had these credit cards. And then I kept getting more credit cards and more credit cards. And I applied for every one I could get, I'm going to try that one.
Yeah.
I never lied about my income. And I couldn't believe they kept giving me these same credit cards. And it turned out I only made about $10 an hour.
Wow.
Okay, and I made $20 grand a year. So it's about $10 an hour right around there. Even with the degree at the time. Of course, it's a long time ago, but still wasn't a lot even then.
Right.
It was tight then,
Right.
And they kept approving me for these things. I have credit cards that go from here to there. But anyways, that's how I got started, and not that I would recommend that. I wouldn't. But that's because I didn't know about what we do with lending. Turned out I didn't even know about that then.
Yeah, I didn't either. When I got into fix and flipping in the early 2000s, I used my own money.
Yeah.
And it was one house at a time.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, I wish in
Right.
the early 2000s I had met you, because I think I would have been so much further along. So tell us
Or if I had known you,
Yeah.
if you were,
Yeah.
younger than me, but you're not. I mean, you are younger than me, but if you're older than me. But, it's interesting because you look back at your career and you say, okay, how could I have done something more?
Yeah.
And you and I are both lenders. And this is a very interesting phenomenon. One of the guys, actually one of the people I'm interviewing tonight on stage, they've never done mortgages.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, they just pay cash for everything because they didn't know what they were.
Okay.
Honestly. So now I've got multiple people coming to me that are they've always used their own cash, just like you and I did. We didn't know. And now they said, we didn't realize that we could borrow, so that now we can do multiple properties, even though we're paying, a good chunk. It's not cheap to borrow hard money, right?
Yeah.
But now they realize they can do even more deals. And that's kind of how mine transpired over the years. I then ended up meeting some, started going to some education events like this and started learning about different strategies and techniques and found a kind of what I would call a quasi, they weren't hard money lenders, but they weren't private money lenders.
Okay.
They were in between,
Okay.
Because, the private money lenders I kind of think of as like, your 5 to 9%ers.
Yeah.
And then the hard money lenders are going to be like, you're going to charge between 12 and 18. I mean, they're going to always be that, but they were like 10 or 11 or something.
Okay.
So they were still more than others, but they weren't like hard money. But anyways, I met them and then I started being able to buy, and but they still didn't. They never ever financed my rehab.
Really?
No, I do that and you do that.
Oh, right.
I hold the money for someone to refi, because I know what it was like, getting started, and I know that if I hold it, I'm still protected as a lender.
Right.
But they have the opportunity to get it done and get it done right.
Right.
Because sometimes they run out of money, or they don't have it.
Exactly. Or maybe they're just getting started and they don't have the money
A lot of
to do
people
the
don't.
project.
A lot of people don't.
But if it's a great deal, you
Right.
look at the deal.
Right. Well, I look at the deal. I don't think I've ever run one person's credit.
Yeah, neither of us.
Because I don't care about the credit.
No.
I look at the house and I think, okay, if they fail, or would I buy this house for the same with what they put down on it?
Exactly.
Now I usually make them put something down, but sometimes they borrow that money from someone like you. Other lenders do those, like what we call gap funding loans, where let's say I require 10% down, and someone else might say, well, gosh, I'll lend you the 10%. I'll be a second mortgage holder, and but they charge higher points in fees on that, but it's a smaller amount. And then that person can get in for zero money. But I didn't know about any of this.
I know, neither
Did
did
you?
I. I really didn't. And I mean, we can talk about this on a later interview, because
Yeah,
there's so much.
We can
she's
do
a
any.
wealth
We can
of
do.
information.
Well, we could do like any,
I-
like all kinds of topics.
I know, yeah, because there's so many different types of creative funding
Yes.
that you can get into.
Yeah.
And but for the purposes of time, because
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
actually at the Michigan Real Estate Investment Group
Yes.
meeting. We're having a meeting
So you might
tonight.
start seeing people in the background. You already have.
So talk about that. You're wearing the
Oh
sweater
yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Michigan Real Estate Investor. It's the first time I ever wore a sweatshirt. I usually try to dress up a little bit for these meetings, but the girls bought me one of these for the winter time. But anyway, Michigan Real Estate Investor. So I used to, kind of going back a little bit, Trina. Before I ever did any hard money lending, I didn't have any money to lend. I borrowed on credit cards, but then I also learned about lease options, and that's where I became an expert in creative financing, finding sellers willing to lease their home with the right for me to buy it at some future time with defined terms. And there's lots, we could talk even a lot more detail about that, but that's just one strategy. And then subject twos, where you get the deed subject to the seller keeping the mortgage in their name, but the title goes in your name. And so I started learning about those strategies and kind of became, and I really became an expert, especially on lease options.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I started getting asked to speak all over the country, and it was to investor groups like this.
Right. Okay.
So I went to, for 15 years, I spoke all over the country.
Okay.
And then I found out what groups I liked, what they did that I liked, what they did I didn't like, and then when I said, I'm tired of this road thing, man. I still like sharing information, I still like helping people, but I don't want to travel like this anymore.
Right.
So I said, you know what, I'm gonna start my own group.
See, that's wonderful.
And then here we are.
Yeah.
Now this has been like 14 years or something,
Yeah.
15 years maybe.
So for anyone out there who's thinking about getting into real estate and you say, you know what, I'm a newbie, I don't know what to do. If you live in Michigan, here in Troy, you can join the MREI group,
Yep.
Michigan Real Estate Investment Group. And you can learn a lot from Wendy. Every month she has a different speaker, and sometimes she herself will speak on different topics. And I can tell you, I've been here a few years now, and I've learned quite a bit. And I've even called you on a number of occasions and asked for your advice.
And well, I'll help anyone. I love it.
Yeah.
And I've loved helping you too, because you have really good stuff, you know, and then we have discussions about it, you know. Like, oh, I never thought about that. Okay, let's
Yeah. So again, you can learn a lot as a new investor, and even if you're a seasoned investor, it's great to come here and network.
Absolutely.
I've met a lot of people here.
Yeah, you never know who's going to have a deal here that you want,
Exactly.
who's going to have the money you want, or who you're going to be able to sell a deal to if you want to.
Exactly.
Or just the networking of who's going to help you sharpen your real estate investor skills, right? You know, that person that you're going to be able to call to say, you know, how do you do this? How do I do that? How do you know? Which we do.
Right.
We do that a lot. So.
Yeah. So again, I really appreciate you for coming, or actually allowing me to interview you.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And maybe in the future we can have another discussion and dive a little bit deeper into the different
lease options, subject twos,
the lease options,
land contracts, anything like that. I love that kind of stuff. So I'd love to do. You can do one on each one of them if you want.
Okay, wonderful.
Let us know if you're interested.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So thank you all for watching Financial Fix with Sharnella, and I hope to see you on the next episode.